Attention shoppers. Tonight on the checkout, the fine print on ticket insurance that's not very reassuring. The yogurt that's 98% fat-free and 100% unhealthy. And how products avoid false advertising by putting the lies in their name.
Seriously, punch me in the face!
But first, Jules to the snack counter.
I used to put a teaspoon of sugar on my cereal, but when I decided to cut down on sugar, I switched to a tub of Dairy Farmers thick and creamy 98% fat-free yogurt.
The yogurt has more sugar.
Oh, okay. I used to put 2 teaspoons of sugar on my cereal, but when I decided to cut down on sugar, I switched to dairy... What is it?
The yogurt still has more sugar.
Fine. I used to put 3 teaspoons of sugar on my cereal, but when I decided to cut...
Sorry.
I used to put 5 teaspoons of sugar on my cereal, but when I decided to cut down on sugar, I switched to a tub of dairy...
The yogurt still has more.
Who puts more than 5 teaspoons of sugar in their cereal? OK, smartass, try this. I used to put a tub of Belgian chocolate on a caramel sauce on my cereal, but when I decided to cut down on sugar, I switched to...
The yogurt still has more sugar.
You have got to be kidding me! I used to put a tub of Dairy Farmers 98% fat-free yogurt on my cereal, but when I decided to cut down on sugar, I switched to chocolate and caramel sauce. It tastes great, and it's got 1.7 grams less sugar per serve.
I've been on this consumer affairs beat as long as I could remember, but I still got a buzz from a big scoop. Hey, you can't smoke on TV anymore.
It's a Twiggy stick.
Probably the only thing less healthy than a cigarette. Tonight, the buzz was back. I had a tip-off about a fancy dame with a hot lead. Her name was Zoya Sheftalovich, and she had a pair of pins you couldn't take your eyes off.
Twiggy stick?
No thanks.
So what's the deal with this BB cream?
It's a new makeup craze from Asia. It's called blemish balms or beauty balms, depending on who you ask. And it's supposed to be this miracle all-in-one product. So a serum, a foundation, a moisturizer, and a sunblock.
This was bigger than I thought.
Thanks for the hot scoop.
Wait, that's not the story. Everybody knows that bit.
Just as I suspected.
The real story is how these BB creams and other makeups are claiming they're not involved in animal testing, but they actually are.
But you've got to do animal testing, you know, to protect the broads.
No, we don't. There are lots of new alternatives, like testing on donated corneas and skin cells. That's why the EU has banned animal testing altogether. And anyway, these cosmetic companies need to be upfront about their animal testing. Some people really care about this stuff, and they ought to know the truth. And don't you ever call me a broad.
Feisty broad.
You too.
It was a great lead, but I needed some kind of clue. Any kind of clue. Anything at all.
Of course.
I needed more matches. But while I was there, I moseyed down the makeup aisle. Some of the products were cruelty-free and had the logos to prove it. Others claimed to be cruelty-free, but made their own logos up. And then there were those that just said,
Against animal testing? What does it even mean?
how the hell would I know?
That was a rhetorical question.
The dame was wrong. They were all against animal testing. I saw the logos with my own eyes. This story was deader than a stool pigeon pumped full of lead, hog-tied at the bottom of...
But those labels aren't all telling the same story. That's part of the problem.
The story was back on track. It was more on track than a Jersey locomotive hurtling through
Do you mind? We're talking about animal cruelty here. They drip chemicals into the eyes of rabbits. They take animals and shave them, then apply chemicals to their skin to see if they get a bad reaction. And the tests include killing them and doing autopsies.
So why do they do it?
It's because of China. It's a huge market, and in order to be registered there, cosmetic companies have to have their products tested on animals.
So any cosmetics sold in China are tested on animals?
Exactly, and the cosmetic companies pay for it themselves.
No sudden moves, Newcastle. I'm packing heat. This is your final warning. Lay off the cosmetic companies, or next time I mightn't be so polite. Thanks very much for your time, ma'am.
So many questions swirling around my head. Who was behind it all? How did they get away with it? And was that really the best background we could get? I had to go and see the very nice lady again. I decided to go undercover.
I've already done that. And it turns out not even the people selling the stuff know what's going on. I spoke to dozens of staff and only one of them knew what was happening. Most of them said things like...
It's actually illegal now. Internationally, it's illegal to test on animals. Because of the animal rights, it's so big now. So just wanted to check, are your products tested on animals?
No, we're actually a part of, we're actually owned by SALSA.
Oh, okay.
So we don't test on animals.
So if even the people selling the stuff don't know what's going on, it's no wonder consumers don't understand what's happening.
Great work, but terrible camera work. Now all I had to do was find out who the big cheese was behind all this animal testing.
I've already done that too.
This was getting annoying.
L'Oreal, Estée Lauder, Clinique, Dior, Olay, Pond's, L'Occitane, Jolique, they're all doing it.
I got L'Oreal. What was the next one? Will you stop doing that? Sorry about that.
Even brands that have built their reputation on being proudly anti-animal testing, like Bobbi Brown, are now owned by Estée Lauder and sold in China.
Bobbi Brown, you used to be so pure.
And don't get me started on the websites of some of these companies. Like Giorgio Armani proudly claims on their website that it doesn't even have animal testing conducted by anyone else. But they're sold in China, and animal rights groups say they do test on animals.
Thank God my typewriter's connected to the NBN.
And that against animal testing box you just saw, that one's from Palmer's. They may claim that they're cruelty-free, but they're sold in China too, so they're involved.
All the pieces were falling into place, like some kind of a thing with pieces coming together nicely. I just had to work out what people could do about it.
Yep, I've already done that too.
For God's sake.
All we have to do
I told you when I'd be back, I would be so polite. Well, here I am, gap-toothed moron.
Come on.
Animal testing isn't... And anyway, animal testing isn't the fault of the cosmetic companies. The Chinese government make them do it so they can put their products in there.
But they do have a choice. The Body Shop has decided not to sell their products in China, even though they're owned by L'Oreal. And Urban Decay and John Paul Mitchell Systems have pulled out of the Chinese market since finding out about their animal testing policies. And the more companies pull out of China, the more pressure there is on the government to change the law.
See what I have to deal with?
Cute story, lady. Prepare to... I'm just gonna turn the light on, I think.
Huh, there are my keys.
Hey, cute story, baby. As I was saying, prepare to kiss the angel.
Sorry, I'm late.
So you take that message back to whoever sent you.
Who said that?
I wrapped this story up in a neat and tidy little bow. Well, I guess we hadn't in any way stumped animal testing.
Who is that?
Don't worry. There are no voiceover guys in the big house. Want to go get a steak?
Yeah.
Almost every time you buy a ticket for an event from the big companies, they try to sell you ticket insurance. It can cost up to 30% of the price of your ticket. It covers you if you're sick or injured and can't attend the event. Shh. It also covers you if someone else is sick and needs to be looked after. Although in the case of Ticketmaster's event ticket insurance, there are a few exceptions, like the person has to be a relative, they've got to live in Australia or New Zealand, they can't be over 80, their illness mustn't be related to being heavily pregnant, or to alcohol or substance abuse, they mustn't be suffering from depression, they can't have a pre-existing medical condition, and they can't have an STD.
I told you that in confidence.
Plus, there can't be any other family member who can do the job of looking after them.
Don't slam that door.
Of course, usually if you're sick or have to care for a relative, you just give your ticket to a friend.
But if you have no friends and only one relative who also happens to fall sick but isn't foreign, old, pregnant, already sick, depressed, a substance abuser or STD stricken, then get ticket insurance. But remember, the policy also doesn't cover you for claims arising from biological material that can destroy human health or create public fear. So presumably you won't be covered at a One Direction concert.
When I'm buying a product, the marketing trick I most like to fall for is the cashback. No, Phillips, don't just reduce the price of this $250 shaver by $50. Please, Oral-B, don't insult me with 20% off this electric toothbrush, and whatever you do, Regain, when I pay cash at the register for your extra strength hair loss foam, don't actually give me $30. Because the key to a good is a complicated, consumer-unfriendly process that minimises the chance that you'll ever actually get any cashback. Now, we've been looking at some of the awesome offers available to Australians, and there are so many to admire, like Claritin's sumptuous offer of $5 on a pack of 60 hay fever tablets, or Bayer Advantix tick treatment, which Luella Harvey points out has a $10 refund in the form of a card that's time limited and cannot be redeemed for cash. Seriously, Bayer, which part of don't you understand? But my personal favourite is Nespresso. To get a $60 on your coffee machine, you can't, under Clause 7 of the terms and conditions, get the in-store when you pay them your cash. Oh no. All you need to do is fill out the form, put it in an envelope with the original receipt and the 19-digit barcode number located on the drip tray, plus a stamp, take it to the post office, wait for a minimum of 50 days, and that's not 50 days, by the way, from when you sent it, it's 50 days from when the offer closes, which is the 14th of June 2013. Then open your mail, detach that most convenient of non-cash financial instruments, the cheque, take the cheque to the bank, fill out a deposit slip, and then wait for the cheque to clear, and then bingo! Although at least Nespresso doesn't put a deadline on processing the cheque like you do, Regain. I trusted you, Regain, but thanks to your 90-day limit, I don't get my hair back and I don't get my money back. Sorry, I mean... Cashback! And I wouldn't want to finish this segment without saluting Hewlett-Packard. Their website says it takes 75 calendar days to process a claim. But if you complain after 75 days, they will fast-track your claim, meaning it's, quote, placed on a list to be processed within the week, so that within just 30 days from the beginning of the following week, you will get your fast-track cashback. Now, it seems to me that cashback offers are rigged against consumers. But is that how it works in real life? What are the stats? Presumably the companies offering them know, so we asked. And since we know how they prefer to communicate, we didn't phone, we didn't email, we sent them a good old-fashioned letter and asked them to fill out a form identifying what percentage of eligible customers actually get their cashback. And for some strange reason, we didn't get a 100% response rate. But we do want to give their side of the story, so if you'd like to know exactly what they said, just send your request by letter to the checkout ABC TV, GPO Box 9994 in your capital city, include a stamped, self-addressed envelope, and we'll send a copy of their response within 75 calendar days, if we don't get distracted in the meantime.
Hi, my name is Dan Ariely. I'm the James B. Duke Professor of Psychology and Behavioral Economics at Duke University. So I want to think about money. As consumers, that's what we do. We spend our money. How do we decide what's a good thing to spend on and what's not? And usually what we do is when we look at the category, we end up comparing things within the same category. Think about the restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, you're probably comparing appetizers to appetizers and dessert to desserts and main dishes to main dishes. Now, of course, money is not about comparing similar things. Money is about comparing one thing to all the possible other things that we could consume. When you think about buying something, you should ask yourself, what else can I do with this money? Now, that's the rational thing to do, but it's very, very hard. So instead, I want to propose a slight shortcut for that. Imagine you made a list of things you really like. And every time you look at some new purchase, you ask yourself, how much do I want this compared to these other things? And if you figure out that you prefer this new thing, go ahead and buy it. But if you realize that you would prefer the other way to spend the money, maybe you should not buy this particular new thing that is standing just in front of you and use the money for things you actually want to a higher degree.
What's in a name? We all remember the controversy over the Subway footlong sub that wasn't quite a foot long. After the story began trending, Subway posted on their Facebook page that
Subway footlong is a registered trademark and not intended to be a measurement of length.
A foot long is a foot long? Where would we have gotten such a dumb idea? Awkward. So do products have to be true to their names? In 2012, Subway Australia had to change the name of their chicken fillet sub because they breached the rule that food ads must be truthful and honest. The Advertising Standards Bureau found that chicken fillet means chicken fillet, not processed chicken reconstituted into a fillet shape. But for some reason, Subway didn't change the name of the sub to that. They called it Chicken Classic. And they're right. That was a classic. The ACCC can also stop businesses using false or misleading names. Last year, they prosecuted this company, King Island Meatworks and Cellars, arguing that the name King Island Meatworks and Cellars suggests that the level of meat that comes from King Island should be more than 0. But most of the time, products get away with misleading names, like Organic Springs Water. That's organic, right? I mean, they can't just shove organic in the name and then say on the side that Organic Springs is only a trademark and isn't a representation that the contents are organic, can they? Oh, yep. And secure parking. They can't just call themselves secure and...
No warranty as to the security of this car park is expressed or is to be implied by the word secure in our trading name.
At least those companies were honest enough to admit the truth in the fine print. Sometimes you got to take them to court to get it out of them. When Coca-Cola was sued over health claims in vitamin water, they said no consumer could reasonably be misled into thinking that a product named vitamin water was a healthy beverage or contains only vitamins and water. That's right, Coke doesn't think any reasonable person would believe their own ads. To put it in perspective, let's compare vitamin water to Monster. Vitamin water has twice the sugar and less vitamin B3, B5, B6 and B12, which suggests that this is the real Monster. Maybe they should have called it Classic Water. But don't worry, Coke has learnt from the experience. In the US, they've recently announced fruit water. And unlike vitamin water, fruit water contains no sugar. However, it also contains, you guessed it, no actual fruit. Seriously, punch me in the face. I didn't mean punch me in the face, just like they don't mean fruit water. So even though footlong doesn't mean a foot long, and organic doesn't mean organic, and vitamin water doesn't mean vitamins and water, you can trust companies to be completely honest. Well, my name isn't Rich Man Awesome in Bed. Did I tell you it's a foot long?
Trendy music puts you in a trendy mood, which is why youth fashion outlets select playlists that are most conducive to buying the latest fashion trends. The right music can lead to a double-digit increase in sales.
This looks like fun!
Solution. Go shopping with industrial-strength earmuffs. Or crash the party with Chopin's Funeral March. Scent marketing can also affect your purchases. Certain smells have positive associations.
Maybe I need new pyjamas.
One study showed feminine scents like vanilla doubled sales of women's clothing, while masculine scents increased sales of menswear. Solution. Safeguard yourself against unwelcome, pleasant odours. A Columbia University study showed that offering fewer items creates the perception of scarcity, making clothes seem more popular.
Oh my God, there is only one left.
Solution. Just make sure you're seeing double or triple before you enter the store.
Oh my God, there's so much stuff here. I have like 100 of everything. So many clothes. Wait, I just want to look at all the stuff you have.
You might remember a couple of weeks ago on the checkout, Rachel Botsman talked about collaborative consumption, you know, stuff like car sharing and go-getting. Ah! Don't worry about it, mate. I think she said their insurance covers it. Tonight, Rachel looks at another group of businesses that could hurt your bank almost as much as you want to.
Hello?
Hi, Rachel. I need to borrow $10,000. Can you help?
Sure.
Great.
Just borrow it from a total stranger.
What?
Bye.
Can I borrow $10,000, please?
Sorry?
Can I borrow $10,000?
No.
$1,000?
I'll buy you a cup of coffee. How's that? Sorry. You look shifty to me. You look very shifty. You do.
Hello?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. That was a complete disaster.
Borrowing money from random strangers on the street is a pretty dumb way of trying to get $10,000.
Hey, it was your idea.
But borrowing money from total strangers works if it's done the right way. It's called peer-to-peer finance. As consumers, personal loans are some of the biggest transactions we ever enter. And in Australia, the vast majority of us borrow from the big banks. But just because we bank with them...
Excuse me, your spot's back there, lady. I'm next with these bastards.
...doesn't mean we like them or the way they do business. In Choice's 2011 Bank Satisfaction Survey, banks rank significantly lower than credit unions and building societies. Even though we hate the banks, we stick with them. They might be bastards, but we know they're safe and reliable, right?
Yeah.
There've always been alternatives to the big banks like mortgage brokers, co-ops, mutuals, credit unions, or my favourite, rich relatives you can pretend to like and hit up for cash. But now, excuse me, can I borrow $10,000?
Sure.
Oh, come on. This is set up.
It is set up online. Society One is currently the only substantial Australian example, but around the world there's over 300 peer-to-peer lending businesses that let you borrow money, not from a bank, but from the crowd. Here's how it works. People who want a personal loan register online. They're organised into groups based on their credit scores.
Oh, come on!
Lenders pick the amount of risk they want to take. Loans to higher-risk borrowers yield higher rates of interest.
Yeah, come on in for the big bucks. Come on. Hello?
To minimise risk, a loan is typically hedged. That is, split between multiple borrowers. So you're lending and borrowing money from total strangers, but in a structured way that takes out a lot of the risk, both real and perceived.
All right, that's lovely, but banking is serious business. Show me numbers, not synchronised swimming or whatever all this is.
The first big social lending company was Zopa in the United Kingdom. £90 million was lent on Zopa last year. People can borrow up to £15,000, but each loan split into £10 units. So no lender has more than £10 in a single loan.
Nice hedge.
Zopa's now got 2% of the unsecured personal loans market. Last year, worldwide, more than $1.5 billion was lent peer-to-peer.
Interesting, but I have homes to repossess. Excuse me. All very warm and fuzzy, but you wait till someone defaults.
Defaults are a risk for any type of loan, but on Zopa, the average default rate is 0.49% on an annualised basis, whereas for traditional banks, it's more like 2 to 3% for personal loans.
Yeah, but that period includes the GFC.
Well, whose fault was that? Anyway, the critical thing about peer-to-peer lending is knowing a real human's depending on you to repay, not just a massive, rich financial institution you sort of hate, makes borrowers more accountable. They're more likely to pay back strangers.
I'm sure she'll say something about how it's still a legally binding loan and you shouldn't borrow if you can't repay it. You will say that, won't you?
Sure.
Thought so.
It's true. Peer-to-peer loans are legally enforceable contracts like any other. So just like banks can send in the debt collectors, if things don't turn out, peer-to-peer lenders can do the same thing. If that happens, you're on your own.
Well, if it's the same, then what's the point?
Well, apart from the low default rate, the average return for peer-to-peer lenders with established players is significantly higher than the rate of interest for cash deposits, which might be why the executive director of the Bank of England recently said peer-to-peer lenders could in time replace high street banks.
Yeah, but even when banks are riskier, we're safer because we're guaranteed by the government. See, the problem with all you P2 people is that you're not big enough to be too big to fail.
I think you missed the spot. Thanks. Yes, government guarantees have been great for the banks. In fact, regulation is a big challenge for social lending. It's such a new thing, it's not always clear how it fits with existing rules. So the main peer-to-peer businesses in the UK set up their own industry rules, which the governments are now adopting.
Finance guys writing their own self-serving rules. Now that I can relate to. Eh?
The UK rules actually protect consumers and try to keep shonky operators out of the market. The peer-to-peer lending scene is developing slowly here in Australia. It's a smaller market, but there's still lots of regulatory issues.
She's just getting around to precautions for consumers now, I think.
Yep, so if you're interested in getting a peer-to-peer loan, especially in these early days, do your homework.
Yep, she said be cautious.
Did she say the National Consumer Credit Protection laws apply to Society 1?
Not yet.
I was about to.
But that might not be the case for other peer-to-peer services.
I was about to say that too, and...
But peer-to-peer businesses may not be covered by the consumer credit laws.
And that, but thanks for the...
So if you get into trouble, you should get advice from a community legal centre.
Sure, but the most important thing for consumers is
shop around for the best deal.
Are you going to be here long?
To the end, I think.
That's now, actually. Peer-to-peer lending is a big, disruptive force in personal loans that can be great for borrowers and lenders alike.
Sounds too good to be true.
Well, you might say that, but Society 1's working with serious businesses too, like Perpetual, Ironbark, even Macquarie Bank.
We're what? Oh, you are kidding me!
Oh my God! Somebody call an ambulance!
Actually, don't bother.
Somebody, bail me out.
The videos keep rolling into FYouTube, and while many raise interesting consumer issues, others are just spam. And racing up the FYouTube music charts is this entry from Kim Imber. Kim's beef is with Body Shop's Nutriganics Drops of Youth.
At $50 for 30 mil, it gives my wallet a scare.
Which is pretty steep, and for Kim, that raises questions.
What's in it and where it's from?
The answer on the Body Shop website is plant stem cells harvested from Crista Marine, which grows on the rocky Brittany coastline. So, Kim, where it's from is a test tube. And what's in it? Well, you can't fault Body Shop's claim that Drops of Youth is instantly moisturising because the first ingredient listed is water, just like preen. And according to the Body Shop, the main ingredient thrives in dry and inhospitable environments, like your face.
Is this deal what they call a scam?
Charging $60 for a liquid where you're supposed to massage 2 to 3 drops into skin before applying your usual moisturiser? Sounds like one to me. But let's leave the last word to Kim.
As for the Body Shop, they can shove their Drops of Youth straight up their marketing department.
That's it for the checkout this week. We're back in 2 weeks. Next Thursday at 8 on ABC One, it's the opposition leader's budget reply speech, which means you can tune in at the normal time and still hear about the latest
scam.
The checkout returns in 2 weeks. Next week, catch the budget special with Lee Sales at 8.